Hi friends, so just wanted to showcase another aspect of CSS, which is different type of positioning of various HTML elements, which include static, absolute, relative, and fixed positioning. So let's have a look at that. So we will be doing that by adding some HTML and CSS code and demonstrating the properties. So for static positioning means that is the default positioning in HTML if you don't specify anything. Okay, so if you don't specify any positioning information, all the HTML elements have by default static positioning. That is, they appear one after the other depending on whether they are display block or display inline or inline block, as you have seen before. Okay, for that we have added some HTML code here. Very simple code. We have the HTML outline, and we have one div here, and inside that we have another div which has two classes, one box class and one static class. Note that this is might be the first time you're seeing that for the same div you can have two classes, right? And one and two, so one after the other. So if you look at styles.css, that box class is saying width is 250, height is 250, and the border should be 1 pixel solid black color. Okay, and the static class is saying position must be static, which is the default, and left should be 100 pixels, top should be 100 pixels. That is the position of this div, whichever has this class. From left it will be 100 pixels, from top it will be 100 pixels, and the background color will be green. Okay, so now let's save it and go see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and hit F5, and you can see that the green static div has come, and we are able to see that it has both the box class as well as the static class. Because of the box class, it has a width of 250 pixels, height of 250 pixels, and a border. And because of the static class, it has position static, and you can see that left and top are disabled. And if you just hover on this information, you can see that if you look at my mouse cursor, it is saying that position static property prevents left from having an effect. Try setting the position to something other than static. Similarly for top, the position static property prevents top from having an effect. What this is saying is, when you say that the position of an element is static, it will follow default HTML positioning standards. Okay, if you specify left or top, nothing will happen. Okay, if you want to use left and top, there are two options. One is what is known as relative positioning, other one is what is known as absolute positioning, and the fixed positioning also. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Let's have some add some HTML code and have a look at those two options. So friends, for relative, we have added another div, a div inside another div. So here the class is, this div has a class of box as well as a relative class, which means the positioning will be relative. If we go at our style.css, we can see relative positioning is relative. Left and top we have left it for 0 pixels right now, and background color we have given red. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll just save these two and I'll go to my web page and refresh it. So you can see that the red div is appearing after the green div, like it happens usually in HTML. But the advantage now is, if I inspect this, now I can tweak this left and top properties. So let's say I say left is let's say about maybe 10 pixels. Okay, and as soon as I do that, you can see that it has moved left by 10 pixels, and top maybe I can say it is maybe 20 pixels. So you can see from the top it has moved by 20 pixels. So relative positioning means whatever the default position it would have occupied if its positioning was static, from that position you can offset it by how much ever you want. Okay, so you can offset it by, let's say, even 100 pixels if you want, right? So from left I have offset it by 100 pixels from its original position, and from its original position I have offset it by top by 20 pixels. Okay, so this is called relative positioning, relative to the position it would have had if it was static. Okay, that is what is called as relative positioning. Now what if I want to position something relative to the top of my web page? So my top, if you look at my mouse cursor, the top of my web page is here at the left top, right? Top and leftmost point. That is my origin. Suppose I want to position something at 100 pixels from this position and 100 pixels down. How do I do that? Okay, the relative positioning just allows me to offset my position from my default position. But what if I want to position with respect to my top left origin? That is why when we use absolute positioning. So let's add some HTML and CSS code for doing that. So friends, we have added some more code here for showcasing absolute positioning. Again, we have added a div, and inside that we have added a div whose class is box and absolute CLS, absolute class. So I'll just save this, and if you look at absolute class, positioning is set to absolute, and we are saying from top offset it by 500 pixels, and from left offset it by 750 pixels, and color it blue. Okay, so if I save this and I go back and I hit F5 to refresh, so control refresh, yeah, so we have our absolute positioned box here. Okay, so absolute positioning is saying 500 from the top. So this is 250. If you look at my mouse cursor, this is 250. The red is also having a height of 250, but there is an offset. If I inspect this, there is an offset of 40 from the top, from its original position for the relative one, right? So if I want to push this absolute guy below these two, I must position him at top 540, because 250 plus 250 plus 40, that's 540, right? So when I do that, as you can see that exactly it matches the height of these two quads plus the space between them. Okay, so and if I want to push it such that it touches the corner of this red box, so the width is 250, and I have offset it, if I inspect it, I have offset it by 20 pixels. So if I offset this by 270 from the left, and I have put 270 here, so it is absolutely getting positioned so that it is touching the edge of the red box. So the blue box is absolutely positioned, which means it does not matter where the other elements are positioned. This guy is following its position from the top left corner. Let us go for the next positioning, which is called the fixed positioning. Fixed positioning means no matter where you scroll on the website, the position of that quad will be fixed. So let's add some HTML and CSS code for that. So friends, we have added some more code here. Again, we have added a div and div inside the div. This inside div has a class box and fixed class this time, and display none class also. There are 3 classes acting on this div. I have just set display to none so that I can show you what the fixed positioning is. And I have another div, and I have added 2 images in this div. 2 big images which I downloaded from the web. One is a building image and one is a city image, just so that I get some a way to scroll in the web page. So this is the HTML we have added. And CSS for fixed CLS, we are saying position is fixed, and we are again saying top is 500 pixel, which we can change, and left is 750 pixel, we can change, and background color is aquamarine. And display none is just display none. Display none means that particular div or the HTML element to which this class has been applied will not be visible at first. Okay, and when you disable that, it will be shown. So you have seen display block, inline block before. You'll see display flex in future, and display none means it is not visible. Okay, so let me save this. Let me go here and let me hit F5 to refresh, and you can see that I have added 2 big images, one building image and one city image here, so that I get a way to scroll. I get a vertical scroll bar and I can scroll, and you can see that all these elements, which is static, relative, and absolutely positioned elements, are scrolling when I'm scrolling. But what if I want if a particular information to be always at no matter how I scroll, where I scroll, if I want to always showcase some information like a sticky note or something, I can do that using this fixed positioning quad. Right now, display, when I see this display none is enabled, so I'm going to disable it, and you can see this quad which has appeared, and as you can see, when I scroll also, its position is always constant with respect to the viewport. So this is like a sticky note, friends. So this kind of display can be used to show some sticky note kind of information in our website, and it will have the same fixed position no matter how you scroll. Okay, so these are the 4 types of positioning: static, relative, absolute, and fixed. Thank you, friends. Hi, friends. Just wanted to showcase display flex property in CSS. Let's have a look at it. Let's add some HTML and CSS code. So in HTML, we just have a body, and we have added 5 divs. The first div has a class inbox 1, second has inbox 2 till inbox 5. And in body, we have made we have some margin, we have some background color, and we have made the display block just to start off initially. Inbox 1 has a background color blue, width height 250 pixels. Inbox 2 has red, same width height, and so on and so forth. So if I go to the browser and I hit Control refresh, right, we'll see that we'll get our 5 blocks here. Okay, so this is the usual display, and there is no if I select the body, there is no setting which will help me arrange these inner divs. Okay, so but if I say display instead of block, so I will make it flex, right, you can see that these are now arranged horizontally. So red, blue, red, green, yellow, purple, and I can reverse it. I can say red, green, red, blue, red, green, yellow, purple. I can make it arrange in column wise, or I can do reverse column also. Okay, so we can select various other options like wrap, no wrap, align content, right, align items, so you can align it to the center, to align the center items to the center, and so on and so forth. So friends, display flex is a very handy display methodology, and the whole of Bootstrap is sort of built on display flex. So we'll be looking at it more deeply in future. Hi friends, just wanted to showcase what is known as float in CSS. Using this, you can make the HTML element align to the left side or the right side. So this will be helpful while aligning text surrounding an image, whether you want to align it to the left or right, etc. So let's write some HTML code and CSS code and have a look at it. So we have written some HTML code. So inside the body we have a div. We have an h1 which says we are engineers, architects, builders, an engineering firm, and this span, engineers, architects, builders, we have enclosed it in a span. Span is a HTML element which is inside any line, and you can use the span to color it or style it in a special way. So we have applied a builders.class for this span, and for this we have 2 divs. One has the left float class and one has the right float class. Both have the box class and the border class, and inside these 2 divs there is a div with the class inbox 1 and inbox 2. Okay, and we have a h3 after these 2 divs we have h3 which says building stuff is fun. Okay, so this is a simple HTML example. So let us look at the styles now. So the body is already flex, and the flex direction is column. That is, the elements inside the flex will be arranged in column. If you look at my mouse cursor, it will be arranged in column, and we have some margin, we have some background color, and the box we are saying width is 45%. So that is applied to both left and right boxes, and we are saying you get to have a width of 45% of the viewport width. And for left float we are saying float left, and right float we are saying float right, and this builder dot class we are just coloring it blue, so that is here. and we are saying instance picture solid black. So these two divs have the border class also. Inbox 1 has a background color red with 250 pixel width and height, and inbox 2 has blue color with the same width and height. Okay, so if we go and have a look at it, if I say control refresh, and if we have a look at this, inspect this. Okay, let me just draw it up till here, and if you have a look at this, this has a float left, and this has a this one has a float right. So what that means is, even if I uninspect this and I resize this, this box will always be left aligned and this box will always be right aligned. Okay, so you can see this happening here, right? So this box is left aligned, this box is right aligned, and no matter how much we extend it, you can see that the space between the right and the right border is the same, and as the space between the left and the left border for this box. This is what is known as float to the left and float to the right. Okay, but now interestingly, our friend building stuff is fun, which is H3, is coming in between them. What we want to say is, don't align it to the left or the right, just put it below these two boxes. Okay, because when we do some squeezing, it does come below these two boxes, but when the browser size is big, it is between these two boxes. Okay, so friends, this is what is known as a responsive website. Responsive website responds to the change in size of the browser. So if you are watching it on a mobile, it should look different. If you are watching it on a desktop, it should look different. If you are watching it on a tab, it should look different. Okay, and it should look good in all these conditions. And this is where display flex and what are known as media queries, which will come to in a short while, shine, and they'll help you do that. Okay, so but let's look at float for now. And if we look at inspect this guy, and this guy is H3, building stuff is fun. If we say that we don't want the float to affect this text, we can say clear property. We have a property called clear, and we can say both. And when we say clear of both, which means we are saying don't have it affected either by float left or float right. Okay, and then we can also say text align to center. Okay, this will ensure it is aligned to the center. But if we want to push it a little bit below these two boxes, what I will do is I'll inspect this one, the div class left box, and I will give it a margin. Okay, margin. I don't want any top margin. I don't want any right margin. I want bottom margin of say 1 rem. Okay, I don't want any left margin. Okay, so when I specify that this gets pushed a little bit, let me push it down a little bit more. Maybe 2 rem would be good, right? So once I have the left blocks of margin 0, 0, 2 rem 0, let me do it to right float also. So margin 0, 0, 2 rem 0. Okay, so note that while experimenting, this is all fine. If I change the settings here, it will change here. But if I want these settings to persist, remember that I have to copy this and put it back into my source code here for it to persist. Because if I say F5, everything here will get overridden. So we have to ensure it persists. Okay, friends. So this is float right and left, and we'll continue later. Thanks. Hi, friends. Continuing from where we left. So we have the same setup here. We have the same divs with left float, right float, and etc. We have removed the borders so that the black border is gone. But the rest of the thing is same. And instead of a red div and a blue div, we have 2 images downloaded from the internet. You can download any image, doesn't matter, just for experimentation, not for commercial purposes. So it's okay. Just for experimentation, you can download 2 images from the web, any suitable images. And we have set image source is equal to that. And we have put a class called image info class. So if we go to our styles.css, we are saying that image should be float left and height should be 200 pixels. Okay. So if we go back to our website and if we look at it, it looks like this. Okay, so basically inside those float, the div which is float left and float right, we have put two images which are always floating left, because we are going to put some text which we want to appear to the right of this image. So images. So we have done float left for both of these images. Okay, so now let's put some H2 and paragraph text to show that this image is floating left. So friends, we have added some H2, one for sustainability and a paragraph in the same div, and it is saying the concrete plays an important role. Building sustainable future is the strongest building elements. That is one thing. Second header, we have put it as a beauty. Building under construction is more beautiful than it is completed. So on some text we have put. So if we save this and if we go back and refresh our website, you can see that the text is to the right of both the images. So the images are floating towards the left. So we can also inspect this. So you can see that image is float left and height is 200 pixels, and because it's floating towards the left, the text is appearing to the right. Also, I would like to provide some gap here so that we have some spacing here. So I'll do the inspect. We can do some margin and we can say top I need 0, right I need maybe 1 rem. Let's try that. Then yeah, 1 rem. Then others can be 0. So yeah, this should be okay, I think. So it depends on how much space you want, and you can see that as when I resize the browser, it is sort of responding, and it is looking good in all conditions basically. Okay. So but if I come maybe less than some 700 pixels or something like that, you can see that it is getting crumpled here, right? So we will use media queries to fix that basically. Okay. So we'll continue with media queries next. Friends, continuing from where we left off, as we discussed, when we decrease the website width to that of a size of maybe mobile, maybe around 700 pixels or something, you can see it's getting crumpled. Okay, so to fix this, we use media queries from CSS. What media query says is, if the width of the website on a device is about some pixels which you can specify, then you can change the style of the HTML elements. Okay, so the way to do it is, add some code to CSS, right? So this is the CSS where we left off. Box, I just brought it down from top to here just to show you how to change it, and the image is as is. Now we'll add some code here, CSS code here, to say that the HTML rendering engine, that if the width becomes less than a particular width, say about 680 pixels, then style the HTML elements accordingly. Okay, so to do that, so friends, we have added this CSS code which is reading at media max width 680 pixels. What we are saying to the HTML rendering engine is, if the width on a device of the website becomes lesser than 680 pixels, we do this. Okay, so this gets applied between widths which is 0 to max width of 680 pixels. If the width is greater than 680 pixels, then this does not get applied. Okay, this rules get applied only if the width is less than 680 pixels. Okay, so you can see that the box which we had set will hold a width of 45%. We are saying let it hold a width of 100% and let its display be block. And the image which floats left now does not float left but occupies a width of 100%, and its display is inline, and object fit is cover, means let it stretch as much as possible to the available space. So these are the changes we have made. Okay, so the CSS will use these rules, and if the width is less than 680 pixels, then it will replace these rules by these rules. Okay, so let us go have a look at that in action. So I'll save it, I'll come back to my website here, I'll do control refresh, and you can see that our block, our box, our image, etc. has sort of been styled differently. Now they are not next to each other, they are in a flex box, but they are one below the other. And if we increase this width, when it becomes greater than 680 pixels, you can see that the original rules are applied. Okay, so you can actually inspect this. So you can say inspect, and you can take, let's say, maybe we can click on the image. You can see that it is floating left, and its height is 200 pixels, and its margin is 1 rem, and all that. So when we click this button, you can see my mouse cursor here. Click this button to enable sort of checking on whether it's running on iPhone, you can or iPad. So you can check various resolutions, right? And you can also, if you look at my mouse cursor, use a responsive setting to make this responsive. So when you can keep watching this image, and you can keep watching in image inf.cls. When I reduce, as soon as I hit 680 pixels less than that, you can see that this has been overridden by this, which says width should be 100%, display should be inline, and object fit should be cover. Okay, you can play along with this. Object fit should be cover, and if you disable this, you can see the stretching happening. If you don't, if you enable this, you can see that it fits properly. And you can test various. You can say contain, which will say that I want to see the full image, so center it and show it to me. So that can happen. Cover is what we were using. You can do fill. You can do scale down. You can have various settings and check it out. Okay, so I will leave it at cover, and you can play around these object fit settings and find out which you want and use it. And so friends, this is how we build a responsive website. And nowadays we build a mobile first website, because everybody is watching websites mostly on the mobile, and therefore there is something called mobile first design. So we design it for the mobile, and then we go to see how it would look on bigger devices. Also, you can see that we need some spacing between these images and header too. So you can just inspect this image both in I think when it is bigger, you don't need the I don't think you need the margin, but at least when it is, so here I don't think you need the margin. When it becomes like this, I think it's better to have a bottom margin also, right? So margin right, instead of having margin right, you can specify margin right and bottom. Okay, so and when it is small here, again here also you can have a margin bottom. So I'll add margin bottom to both of the places. Maybe 1 rem should work. So let me try that. Bottom to 1 rem. Okay, so that makes it look little better, right? It looks a little bit better. So that's it, friends. This is how media query works. We'll continue next. Thanks.